Hello friends, and welcome back to Silent Money. In the shadows of history, a chilling tale echoes. A man, seduced by power and wealth, dared to strike a deal with the devil himself. This is the story of a man named Botis, a man whose life was shrouded in whispers and rumors. Was it mere gossip, or was there a grain of truth in the whispers of a pact made with the devil? The idea of selling one's soul to the devil is not a new one. In fact, it's a concept steeped in history, prevalent in folklore and literature across the world. This dark bargain, often made out of desperation or insatiable greed, involves an individual selling their immortal soul in exchange for earthly pleasures or gains. The price? An eternity of damnation. From the German legend of Faust, a scholar who trades his soul for unlimited knowledge and worldly pleasures, to the tale of blues musician Robert Johnson, who reportedly sold his soul at a crossroads for musical talent, these stories serve as cautionary tales. They warn us of the perils of sacrificing our moral compass for fleeting success and the pursuit of power. And so, we return to our protagonist, Botis. A man of humble beginnings, he found himself at the precipice of despair, his dreams of greatness slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. Was it this despair that drove him to the unthinkable? Did he, as the rumors suggest, strike a pact with the devil, selling his soul for a taste of power and wealth? Well, the whispers say he did, and they paint a picture of a man whose life took a dark turn after the alleged pact. A man who, despite his newfound wealth and power, was constantly shadowed by a sense of dread, an unshakable feeling of impending doom. Botis, a man on the brink of despair, ready to barter his soul for a chance at greatness. But as we'll soon discover, the devil's bargain is never as enticing as it seems, and the price of a soul is far greater than any earthly treasure. In the dead of night, Botis summoned the devil, ready to negotiate his fate. In a world where most would tremble at the mere thought of such an encounter, Botis stood firm, his eyes glinting with a desperate ambition. And eventually the spirit of the devil came to him. They say the devil is in the details, and indeed the devil made his promises sound enticing. An abundance of wealth that would make a king envious, fame that would echo through the centuries, power that could shake the very pillars of society. All these were dangled before Botis like a gleaming jewel. But the devil's gifts, as history has proven time and again, often come with a very hefty price tag. The devil, ever the cunning negotiator, demanded something precious from Botis. Not gold, not silver, not things of this world, but something far more valuable, his soul. A small price to pay, some might say, for the unimaginable riches on offer. But a soul is not a trinket to be bartered away, it's the essence of a person, the very core of their being. Botis, blinded by his ambition, agreed to the devil's terms. He would hand over his soul, his very essence, in exchange for the gifts he so coveted. A pact was made, a contract drawn up in letters of fire. The devil, ever meticulous, required one last thing, a signature, not with ink but with blood. With a sharpened quill, Botis etched his name onto the parchment, the crimson droplets seeping into the fabric of the cursed document. The air crackled with energy as the pact was sealed. The devil, ever the showman, disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving Botis alone in the dead of night with his newfound wealth, power, and a life that would never be the same. The pact was complete. And so, with a drop of blood and a signature, Botis sealed his fate. A chilling reminder of the dangerous allure of power and the terrifying lengths some will go to achieve it. With his pact in place, Botis's life took a turn towards opulence and power. Everything he touched seemed to turn to gold. Every business he started was a success. Every idea he had was considered brilliant. He could do no wrong, even things that seemed like mistakes worked out in his favor. The once average man was now living a life of extraordinary wealth. His coffers filled with gold, money and jewels, his name whispered with reverence and fear in every corner of the city. His influence was vast, his authority unchallenged. He had the world at his feet, the power to shape destinies with a mere word. Botis revelled in his newfound glory, drank deeply from the cup of power. He was a king in all but name, his word law, his desires the compass that guided the fate of his realm. He commanded respect and fear in equal measure. His name was synonymous with power, his reputation a thing of legend. He was no longer just Botis, but Botis the mighty, Botis the wise, the man who had everything and more. But as the days turned into months and months into years, a shadow began to creep into Botis's life. It was subtle at first, a dark whisper at the edge of his thoughts, a cold chill down his spine. He ignored it, brushed it off as the price of power. But the darkness persisted, grew stronger, more insistent. It seeped into his dreams, turned them into nightmares. His sleep became restless, his days filled with an unease he couldn't shake off. His wealth and power, once a source of joy, now felt like chains around his neck. His laughter became rare, his smiles forced. He felt a constant sense of dread, a fear that gnawed at his soul. He had everything he had ever wished for, yet he felt hollow, empty. His life had become a gilded cage, his existence a constant reminder of the pact he had made. The fear and respect he commanded felt hollow, the wealth and power meaningless. But as he reveled in his newfound glory, the price of his pact started to reveal itself. The devil's bargain had given him everything he had ever wished for, but at a price he hadn't fully understood. His life of ill-gotten gains was slowly turning into a nightmare, a grim reminder of the price of unchecked ambition and greed. The devil, they say, always collects his due. And for Botis, the man who purportedly exchanged his soul for money, fame and fortune, this was no exception. As the initial thrill of his newfound success began to fade, Botis found himself facing the harsh reality of his pact. The isolation was the first thing that struck him. Being at the pinnacle of success, he was surrounded by admirers, yes, but true friends, not one. Everyone wanted a piece of his fortune, his fame, but nobody truly cared for Botis the man. It was a cold, lonely existence, one that left him yearning for genuine companionship, a commodity that his wealth could not buy. Then came the guilt, the haunting realization of the sacrifice he had made for this transient success. Every accolade, every cheer from the adoring crowd served as a chilling reminder of the pact he had made. The guilt of trading his eternal soul for temporal gains gnawed at him relentlessly. He had sold his soul, his essence, his very being to the devil, and for what? A fleeting moment in time? And finally, the fear of the inevitable, the fear of the devil coming to collect his due, the fear of an eternity in damnation. It consumed him, it tormented him, it cast a dark shadow over his every waking moment. The devil, he knew, was not one to forget a deal, and Botis's time was running out. The man who once had everything found himself having nothing that truly mattered. His life, once the envy of many, had turned into a living nightmare, a constant struggle between his guilt, his loneliness, and his fear. The glittering facade of his fame and fortune could no longer hide the stark reality of his existence. As the devil's grip tightened, Botis's life spiraled into a nightmare. The price of a soul, it seemed, was much more than he had bargained for. There is always a moment of reckoning when one dances with the devil. Botis's moment of reckoning came not in the thunderous applause of his adoring fans, not in the glittering opulence of his mansion, but in the quiet solitude of his own thoughts. There in the silence he was confronted with the stark reality of his choices. His fame, his fortune, all of it was hollow, empty. He had gained the world, but at what cost? He had traded his soul, his essence, for fleeting pleasures and transient glory. In the quiet of his solitude, the truth came crashing down on him like a tidal wave. His hands, once so adept at being creative and being able to fix almost anything, now trembled with fear and regret. He had danced with the devil, and the music was coming to an end. Desperate, Botis sought to break free from his pact. He tried to reclaim his lost soul, to undo the terrible bargain he had made. But how does one retrieve a soul once it has been given away? How does one bargain with the devil and expect to win? Botis's attempts were futile, his efforts in vain. The devil, ever cunning and deceitful, had ensnared him in an unbreakable contract. Botis's fate was sealed, his destiny written in the devil's ledger, and so the man who once stood atop the world, commanding the adoration of millions, met his tragic end. Botis was found deceased in his luxury home. It was a most gruesome sight. They say that it looked like Botis had ripped his own flesh from his body with his bare hands until he bled to death in his custom-made marble bathtub. Alone and filled with regret, he realized the true cost of his greed. In his pursuit of power and glory, he had lost everything that truly mattered. His story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of ambition unchecked, of the perils of trading one's soul for worldly gains. In his pursuit of power, Botis had lost everything. Botis's tale serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition. A man who was tempted by the allure of fame and fortune made a pact that cost him more than he could have ever imagined, a pact with the devil himself. In his quest for power, Botis was willing to pay the ultimate price, his very soul. But as our story has shown, the currency of the soul is not one to be traded lightly. It's a currency that carries a weight far heavier than gold and a value far richer than any worldly possessions. This tale is not just about Botis's downfall. It's an age-old narrative woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness, present in folklore, literature, and even in our modern pop culture. It's a tale that warns us of the perils of losing sight of our moral compass in the pursuit of power and wealth. Greed, it seems, is a dangerous master. It blinds us to the true worth of things, luring us down dark paths, promising riches and glory. But as Botis's story painfully reveals, these promises often come at a devastating cost, a cost that can never be recouped. What then are the lessons to be learned from Botis's tragic tale? Perhaps it's a reminder to us all to value the intangible riches we possess, our integrity, our values, our relationships. These are the treasures that truly enrich our lives, the ones that no amount of money can buy. Power and wealth are not the ultimate goals in life. They are merely tools, means to an end, and that end should always be the betterment of oneself and the world around us, not the degradation of our very souls. In the end, the price of a soul, it seems, is far greater than any earthly gain. Remember, there are no shortcuts. If you want success, you will not only have to work hard at it, but you will have to be willing to work harder than your competition. Take that thing that you find easy to do, that most people find difficult, and do it like no other. Then once you have earned your reward of wealth and success through careful planning, hard work, and surrounding yourself with the right people, you can rest easy knowing that you earned it. Remember, the difference between men and boys are the lessons they learn, so don't be lazy in learning. If you wish to achieve great things, don't forget that great perseverance will be required. There are no shortcuts. Thank you for joining us once again. We hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Please like, share and subscribe. Until next time, be well and take care.